wake up, they're feeding us lies. They're playing games with our minds, it's no surprise. They're selling dreams, but we're paying the price. They control the narrative, but we'll take back our lives. They're telling us what to think, what to do, but we won't be fooled. We're breaking through, breaking through. Their propaganda we can see right through. We're waking up, ain't nothing they can do. They lie to you.
Today, we peel back centuries of myth and propaganda to reveal the deeper, hidden history of the wild men. We'll explore a mysterious and captivating tapestry known as the Wild Men and the Moors, created in 15th century Germany. We'll also uncover the symbolism of the wild man figure, hairy, untamed, and deeply rooted in Europe. Who were the wild men? They came also from Antarctica. They were another tribe who will end up in the direction of Europe. Old travelogues describe them as shaggy, silent men seen in the far north and far south. Men from beyond the poles, from lands of eternal ice. Some 19th century explorers even believed these wild men hailed from the southern polar continent, what we now call Antarctica. Unlike the sea people who will later integrate into the black societies of the medieval era, but the wild men could not live amongst the people. They were untamed savages who lost humanity. They lived in the forest all across Europe, covered head to toe in shaggy hair and often wielding clubs. Wild men symbolized the untamed aspects of humanity. They represented everything that medieval society feared because these figures lived among animals in the forest. This tribe, unlike the Sea People tribe, lived naked and had hair all over covering the body. Maybe it was some kind of protection that God gave them since they had no melanin to protect them against the sun. By the 12th century, the wild man had evolved into the woodwose, literally, the man of the woods. As the name implies, the main characteristic of the wild man is his wildness. Civilized people regarded wild men as beings of the wilderness, the antithesis of civilization. From the earliest times, sources associated wild men with hairiness. By the 12th century, they were almost invariably described as having a coat of hair covering their entire bodies, except for their hands, feet, faces above their long beards, and the breasts and chins of the females, the wild woman. Some paintings shows the wild men as man-eaters and show them taking children and people away. But one thing was clear, the wild men was dangerous, a threat to order. The medieval black people knew they were a threat. The foreign, the enemy, the unknown, and the wild man was all of these in one. King Charles VI of France and 5 of his courtiers were dressed as wild men and chained together for a masquerade at the tragic Bal des Sauvages, which means the Ball of the Savages, occurred in Paris at the Hôtel Saint-Paul, 28th January 1393. They were in costumes of linen cloth sewn onto their bodies and soaked in resinous wax or pitch to hold a covering of frazzled hemp so that they appeared shaggy and hairy from head to foot. In the midst of the festivities, a stray spark from a torch set their flammable costumes ablaze, burning several courtiers to death. The king's own life was saved through quick action by his aunt, Joanne, who covered him with her dress. History even records encounters with wild-looking people. In 1725, Germany, Peter the Wild Boy was found living in the woods, walking on all fours and eating roots after seeing him. King George brought him to Britain as a curiosity. In his picture, you see a black knight saving a woman from the wild men. It shows how savage and barbaric the wild men was. In the 15th century, they begun to gather and decided to invade the black royals of that time, depicted in this tapestry of the 15th century. The tapestry itself was lost for centuries, locked away in a bank vault in Cologne during World War II, later discovered among Nazi-stolen art. Why was this tapestry hidden? What power did it hold? During World War II, narrowly escaping the grasp of Nazi officials, including Hermann Göring, who wanted it for his private collection. Some believe it was part of a symbolic archive artworks that challenged the dominant narrative of race, culture, and civilization. It was the remains of what they have destroyed of the black people who lived in Europe. Here we see something incredible. A fortress under siege. But not by armies or knights, but by a swarm of pale, hairy, wild men. And defending the walls are the noble Moors, African kings, dark-skinned, bejeweled, elegant. The king and queen are seen on the window as well as the princess. All black royals defending their castle. Some of the guard are seen on the roof sounding the alarm, and others are fighting with a bow and arrow. This image flips medieval European norms. In an era where whiteness was associated with purity, and darkness falsely associated with sin, here we see the opposite. What's fascinating is that this artwork challenges common medieval symbolism. But here, it's reversed. The pale, shaggy wild men are the aggressors, while the dark-skinned Moors defend the castle, symbolizing order, royal, and sophistication. The wild men are the attackers. The Moors are dignified defenders of civilization. That is what really happened in Europe, and this tapestry is the proof of what they have done. They invaded all Europe, America, and Tartaria, who were all black royals from Spain, France, Italy, Germany, Russia, Turkey, Egypt, Greece, England, and after they invaded them and killed all black aboriginals of Europe, then they reinvented Europe and America with false history and called that the Renaissance. Renaissance means rebirth. And just like that, the old world and the black kingdoms disapered like they never existed. They destroyed all the old paintings. The books they burned, all the books. They destroyed the paintings, the buildings like the Chicago Fair and the likes of it in the world. They destroyed everything with black royals on it and claimed to have builded the buildings they couldn't destroy, and then that they made a false history and called the Renaissance, meaning rebirth. They made fake portrait and fake queens and fake kings, and that is how a fake history was made. Welcome to the Renaissance and the Victorian era. But they didn't know that God was watching them, and that one day He will reveal the truth to us in this tapestry of what had happened. The fake narratives have continued for far too long. It's time for the world to know that everything in Europe and all over the world was invented by blacks, made by blacks and constructed by black people. That all of the old civilizations were all black, and that the real savages, the barbarians who destroyed, unalived and pilled the old world, were the wild men, the sea peoples, and the Turkic hordes who all came from Antarctica. That is the true hidden history of the world. We all need to wake up. Black people have the right to know their history, and white people too. They all lied to us and manipulated us. Today, white people can't even go to their original continent, the Antarctica. They have lost their language and culture. They all have been brainwashed to make them believe they are from Europe. We all need to wake up in the world and unite, because we all came from a black man and a black woman. We are all related. That's why God has left us with this warning that we must be careful about the demons working hard to deceive us, just like our first parents. They are invisible beings watching us, is very important for the humanity's survival to unite. Even today, the wild man is remembered. In festivals from Switzerland to Slovenia, villagers wear shaggy suits looking like hair, like their ancestors, and long beard, and they run through the streets or dance. It seems like they know, but they are hiding it. And as for the tapestry, it stands as a silent witness of what happened of the black royals of Europe. Join us next time as we uncover more true histories of the world. Thank you for watching. Please share this.